Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I am Lisa Crow of Create and Cam with Lisa. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher and today I'm going to teach you Crazy Huggins, which happens to be the Zentangle Tangle of the year for 2025. This is right up there and amongst my favourite tangles. I do this tangle all the time and I never ever get bored of it. So I'll show you some examples of previous versions of this tangle at the end of the video, but just now I'm just going to get straight into drawing the one that I'm going to show you today. Because I'm going to show you Crazy Huggins, I thought it would be helpful to show you traditional Huggins is on a very kind of structured grid. So you start out with orbs and you have them spaced fairly equally apart. I'm going to kind of go through this bit fairly quickly because everything will all become apparent as I kind of get on with the video. I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit. So when we connect these dots, we're going to connect them with C shapes and backwards C shapes. And we're going to alternate in the way that we do that along columns and along rows and up and down columns. So it doesn't matter whether you start with a C shape or a backward C shape to join your first pair, but I'm going to join these vertically. I'm just going to do a backward C shape. And then I'm going to do the next one is going to be a C shape. So if you just remember that anytime that you start a row is you're alternating, either think about it as a backwards C or a proper C, or you could just look at it as joining them from the right or joining them from the left. And then whenever you come to a new column, you're alternating along the row as well. So if you have a pair that you've joined on the right hand side or as a backward C, you're going to join the next one as the opposite way. Just alternating it as you go, and you'll start to see there's some that look a bit more pinched and there are some that look spread out a little bit. And then I'm going to turn this on its side just to show you how you would complete this pattern. So if you don't know when you're starting a new, like when you're doing the final connections, you would know not to join on this side, on the outside, because that would cause your line to go right over the tops of these lines that you've previously created. So you're going to join that one there. And then that one would have to join in there. And then so you're alternating, so that's on the right side. So this one's going to be on the left. And that one was on the left, so this one's going to be on the right, which means that this one's going to be on the left. I think this is a tangle where if you're listening to it as a description in audio and you're not seeing what I'm doing, it might be a lot more complicated sounding than it actually is. So I'm just going to get started on my favourite version of this tangle, which is a bit more of a free-form version. You don't have the same structure in the grid. And when I personally do this one, I mean, I've seen people putting like loads and loads of random orbs down and then connecting them. I always just put 4 down to begin with. And they don't need to be placed like, you know, directly up above and below each other. And they don't have to be the same shape. I think that's why I quite like Crazy Huggins, because it's just a little bit more random. I really like that. So we've got our first 4 orbs, and then we're going to join the 2 left-hand ones vertically on the right-hand side. So these ones are opposite. So instead of joining These ones, we wouldn't join them on the right. We've already done these ones on the right. We're going to join them on the left. And I'm just going to join, I'm going to make some new orbs. And you just keep that exact same principle in mind, that if you've joined these ones on the right, these ones will join on the left. And also remembering when you're joining it in a row, you've got the alternating principle as well. So it's sort of a tricky tangle to teach in a way when you're giving the guidance. But when people actually can see what they're supposed to be able to do, you know, when you demonstrate the drawing in itself, it's a lot more straightforward. And I kind of liken these bits, like the two vertical orbs that I've joined here with this line, I think of that shape as an old-fashioned phone, you know, those hand, like the bits that you would actually speak into. One of my previous students, she always thought that Huggins looked a bit more like a safety pin. It put her in mind of a safety pin. But whatever shape it reminds you of, it's just as long as you're kind of connecting it in the right way, then it'll all work out in the end. So I've now got these ones, and we did this one on the left hand side. So this pair we're going to join on the right. I'm going to put one up here. When I was learning this tangle, what I really liked about it was the fact that you had to kind of pay a bit more attention to where you were joining your rows. This one's joined on the left, so we're going to join this one on the right. I don't find it so much of a high focus tangle now. I kind of do it almost without thinking, but it is a tangle for focus if you're kind of new to it. So I've got all of those ones connected vertically. So I'm going to rotate my tile, and then I'm going to join all of these along here. So remembering we can't join this one on the right hand side because then that would cut through these lines. So we join on the left. On the right. And on the left. And we're obviously practicing as well the Zentangle technique of take off and land. And what I mean by take off and land, if you're not familiar with the concept, is you're just starting on a line that you've previously drawn. You retrace that, and then you kind of go off and create a separate line that's not been created before, and you land on another previously drawn line. So just going from orb to orb, alternating as the orbs will tell you to do. So that's the first stage of this done. And then what I always do is to, within the kind of taller ones, depending on where your tile's oriented, I always aura just around those orbs inside of that space. Just being nice and slow. It's not a race. And then we've got one more on this side. I was really pleased when I saw that Zentangle had named this as the Tangle of the Year. I think technically it's Huggins rather than Crazy Huggins, but I don't tend to draw Huggins as often. I just love Crazy Huggins. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Zentangle concept of reticula and fragments, but why I love this tangle just as much is because the Huggins, Crazy Huggins shape acts more, in my opinion, acts more as the reticula, and then you create other fillers, sort of like fragments, to go in the individual spaces of Huggins that you create. And that means that you can come back to this time and time again, as you'll see at the end of the video that I've done. And you can come in with different colours, different filler patterns. So you will always have a chance to do something different each time that you do it. So I've got an order now in the insides of every single one of these different Huggins shapes. And what I like to do is to have all of the spaces that are going in the one direction, I will have them use one filler, and then the other spaces that are going in the opposite direction, I will fill them with a different filler yet again. So I'm going to, you could use a different colour of pen if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to keep mine be the same colour, but it looks really, really effective if you do change your colours. So I'm going to create the Doodah tangle in the middles of these ones. So all you do for Doodah is that you create a vertical line. It doesn't come all the way to the end. And then you've got in the opposite direction, it doesn't meet at the top. Seem to be picking tangles today that are all about alternating. But that's cool. So from what I've seen, this is the Zentangle variation of Doodah. Maria likes to have the line weight differ, so she'll kind of, as she's drawing each line, she'll apply different pressures on the pen so that you'll end up having sort of a wiggly line. It kind of looks really full of personality and it looks brilliant. And then she tends, from what I've seen, she tends to leave Doodah just as it is once she's created it. But I think it was Zen Linnea that I saw this variation where you can add some weighting at the bottoms. And to me, this just gives it a whole extra bit of oomph. So you're just, where there's a bit open, like where you've got that line that didn't quite go to the edge, you're just adding weight there. And just doing that all the way along that individual Huggins shape. And obviously just doing that in each of those Huggins shapes. So last week I was talking about my book being published, and it's just so exciting to see it. I think when I was filming my last YouTube video, the book hadn't actually arrived yet. I was waiting for it to come in the post. So I finally have it, and in fact I wonder, oh no, it's downstairs. I was going to say I could have shown you it on screen. But I remember it's downstairs now, so I'll not bother getting that just now. But no, it was really, I had a bad week last week because you might actually still be able to hear that my throat's not quite right. I had a really horrible cold. So getting that book in the post, it kind of cheered me up. It's not every day you get to receive some mail with your own book in it, after all. So it's very exciting. I just need to actually remember to tell people about it. I'm not very good sometimes at putting out sales posts. But if you would like to buy a copy, it is available on Amazon. I just find personally that there are so many gratitude journals out there, and I would just like to incorporate Zentangle into my gratitude practice. I've seen Zenjo. I don't know if you're familiar with Zenjo Zentangle. She's Joanna Quincy in Wales. She has videos that I've seen before on her YouTube channel where she's actually, you know, had like a kind of word like that was kind of representing what she was grateful for. And she's created a gratitude tile, and I really, really like that idea. So my journal is just a slightly different spin on that. So I have spaces in the journal for where you can write 3 different things that you've been grateful for that day. And then the tile in itself that you create. You know, I give kind of examples of strings for dividing your tile in the book. You could have the word in your tile as well, in the actual tile. But no, I thought it'd be nice just to have just a standard tile space. So there's 15 different official Zentangle patterns in the book. So you can pick from them, or of course you can pick from any other of the Zentangle patterns out there that you may know. It's going to be your journal at the end of the day, so fill it as you see fit. So already that's just got so much more personality about it, just because I've added a bit of a pattern into the centre of the shapes there. So one of my favourite tangles to add to these Huggins shapes is Shattuck. And for some reason, I do like the straight Shattuck, but for some reason I always tend to do a curved version of Shattuck. So you're just drawing out a line, a curved line, fairly randomly from one point of your Huggins space to another, and then you aura that until you have no space left to aura. Then you turn your tile around. I always find it better to turn it around. Some people create the Shattuck going from the tightest corner out the way, but I find it easier to start with the biggest, longest line first. Just work with whatever is easiest for you. And then also remembering, like as you're going, not to be sitting holding your breath or gripping your pen too tightly. We're obviously tangling for enjoyment, and it's not anything to be stressed about or anything like that. I am going to create these ones from the smallest section here, purely because I don't have the space to create the longer line up here. And I'm just going to do that in every single Huggins space that I have left. So hopefully this week when I go to upload my tile, my lesson, it'll go without a hitch. Last week, because I always aim to have, I just like to be consistent so that people know when my videos are going to be available. So I tend to have them, if not going out, like, you know, hit live, like send right now, I always like to schedule them to go out for a Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. That's UK time. But last week, I don't know what was happening. I had my finished video all edited and titles added and whatnot in iMovie. But then when I was uploading it into YouTube, it was cutting the video off and it kept taking ages to upload, and then it was saying that 37 seconds had uploaded, and obviously I didn't want to have a video that was just 37 seconds long. Could not figure out what the issue was, and then it was saying 4 minutes and whatever seconds, and it was a bit frustrating. So I think it was actually Thursday before I managed to get my lesson up there for last week. So if any of you actually I mean, I don't know if people wait for these videos and they do them on the day that they go out. I mean, I know, like, there's one person in particular, I love receiving her emails every week. She always sends me the tile that she's created as she's tangled along with me. So I'm thinking if Anne tangles along on the day that I post it usually, then there might be other people as well. So I was just a bit frustrated that YouTube wouldn't let me, for whatever reason, upload it. So apologies for that. Maybe the computer had a cold last week as well. I'm nearly there now. And I don't think I'll take too long with the shading and highlighting of it. I think, like I said before, when you're doing Huggins, it's more kind of complicated in teaching somebody how to create it in the first place, but once you've got the shape down, it's pretty straightforward from there. So that's me filled in all of those spaces, and you can choose to do this next bit or not. I'm just going to do an aura that goes around the whole shape here. So you can probably imagine that once you start adding colour and different effects and techniques into this tangle, it could look really, really cool. So I'm going to pop my pen down just for a moment. I might come back to it, I might not need it. And then I usually apply graphite just in the tops and the bottoms of each different shape. I'm just going to do the bits where the pencil's pointing directly into the bit where it's almost like an illusion, as if this is disappearing underneath there. And then I'm going to turn it each time. I just find it's easier for being accurate with the graphite if you are pointing to the bit where you want the pencil to be shading. There we go. So we just take our, oh, I've missed a bit here. Didn't do the very top one. We're just going to take our blending stump and then in circular motions gently tease that graphite out. But not too far, obviously, so that you're still leaving some of the highlight in the centre. And then just repeating that on all of the different sides. Do you see how that's a bit of a magic wand? It's just so amazing to see that kind of new dimension. That's why I will always shade my tiles. I know some people are a bit daunted by shading, but there's no light source in Zentangle, so that kind of thing gets taken away. You don't have to worry about being particular about where the light is going to be shining from and where that would cast the shadow to. You just put the shadow wherever you want. You can create the shadow in a different place every single time that you draw your tangle. When it comes to shade under the outside aura, you could put this you know, in every single bit, like all the way around the aura. I'm just going to put it on the bottom of the whole shape and on the right hand side. Put yours where you like. And then shading that out. And I think that in itself just gives more dimension. It looks as if that's a shape that's sitting on your piece of paper. And I've realised that I didn't actually do anything with these orb shapes. So what I quite like, the effect that Zentangle use, is that they draw two parallel lines in each of these spaces, so that it almost looks like the top of a screw. And they have them not necessarily be pointing in the same direction for each one. I mean, obviously you could fill these in with a colour, or you could maybe put a different shape in. You could have like an orb kind of in the middle, like a smaller orb in the centre of each one. But I just quite like this effect of this. I'm not actually being very systematic about this, I don't think, but I'm getting there anyway. Let me see. Okay, so that's all of those different orbs filled with the screw heads. So you can choose to do that or not do that. And then the last thing that I'm going to do today is to put some pastel pencil in white in the centres of each of these. I'm not going to put the pastel pencil too far into the bit where the graphite is, because it kind of defeats the purpose of having that shadow, if you think about it. So I'm just going to put it in the centres here. And this just makes everything pop. It looks really, really cool, in my opinion. So then just coming in with the different tortillon or blending stump that you'll only use for the pastel pencil. You just smooth that out. What you could also do, just to mention it while I'm filming, I'm not going to do it just now, but you could come in on the outside aura and you could fill it in with a jelly roll, a white jelly roll, or if you were doing it in different colours, you could, you know, do that in whatever colour that you would like. You don't have to leave that line just as it is just now. But this is Crazy Huggins. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to just show you now some previous versions of this. This is when I've been doing map tangling recently. I kind of started to get into the map tangling concept and I just went a bit obsessed with it. But you can see how effective that is there with the shading and the different fillers. You can see I did Doodah in that one as well. This one, I'll zoom out a little bit. You can see all the different possibilities that you have for how to fill the individual Huggins shapes. This one, you can see, I'll just zoom back in a wee bit. This one is the standard Huggins. It's not Crazy Huggins, and it's kind of mixed with, this is called W2. So it's a very, very similar Tangle, except instead of the orbs, you've got the squares as a grid to start with, and then you connect everything together like that. Crazy Huggins here. More map tangling. More map tangling. I've got it on a Renaissance tile. This one is one of my favourites. How cool is that on the black? Just, I don't know, there's something about the black tile that just makes everything just look extra. I like this one. This background here, I don't know if you'll see on the camera, do you see it's a bit shiny? That pen is a jelly roll glaze. You may or may not have seen that in the Zentangle project packs. So those pens kind of put down, I don't know if it's plastic or whatever, but the way that it dries in, you can't really easily draw over the top because it's got a resistant on it, some kind of resistance. So I kind of put down the Prantom shape in the glaze pen, and then I believe that's a watercolour pencil or watercolour some description that I've just washed over the top. That looks quite cool. And we've got this one, which is a white tile, but it's made to look black almost. This one is another favourite, which is based on a Zentangle project pack. So I don't know if you'll be able to see in the camera, but in these individual Huggins spaces, these are actually, these flux shapes are created using an embossing tool rather than a pencil. So it's actually like almost scratched into the surface of the paper. But it looks really, really effective once it's all finished and shaded. This one is just 4 in the centre, almost like a bow and a Christmas present, and then the different ribbons coming out from them. And the last one is exactly the same idea again, except that's just in the black and white with no colour. So there are lots and lots of different options for you when you fill these out. A lot of people like putting muka into the centres, but try whatever tangle that you feel that you would like to put in the middle. There are so many different options, like the sky is the limit, basically. So as usual, I would love to see if you have tangled along with me. Please do tag me in. Creating Calm with Lisa is the hashtag to use. And then I'll get to see any of the tangles that you've created while following along with me. And be sure to subscribe as well, because even if I have got my video coming out late one day, you'll still get it once it actually goes live. So thank you so much for everybody who has been subscribing. I appreciate every single one of you subscribing. I really, really do. And here's to more videos in the future. So I'll hopefully see you next week, and I hope you have a good week ahead. Thank you. Bye.